Another way to overcome the ego is to ask ourselves whether or not we can really trust all of our stories. Without our memories, we have no identity. If you forgot today that person that betrayed you, or the pain of the loved one you lost, or even just the fact that you preferred coffee over tea, it would be difficult for you to explain to someone who you are, because you are your memories. Now, our childhood memories are especially deeply embedded into our identity. But then, so is what happened just last month. But do we ever stop to ask ourselves whether all of our memories are actually accurate? So, for example, did you know that your memory is constantly changing? So, in neuroscience, they teach us that our memory can be seen as something that we package somewhere in our brain, and every time we access that memory and we put it back there, we think that we put it back the same. But that's actually not true. Our memory actually changes a little bit every time we remember it, so it loses its integrity. And that's just one important bit to remember. On the flip side of this, we don't even know if the initial memory that we stored there was correct. We all have an interpretation of something that happened to us. This is why when we sometimes retell the story in a group and someone else is there who was present at the event, they will argue that it didn't quite happen that way. And we may even be surprised when we hear a few other details. And sometimes those details will completely change the way that we feel about or now see the event. We human beings love stories. It's the easiest way for us to remember an event. But how often do we tell ourselves the wrong narrative around what happened? A teacher says something to you after you handed in your work, and the tone sounds a bit harsh. You instantly feel that she's criticizing your work, and you therefore conclude that you must be bad at it. This is what you will now believe forever. You suck at that subject. But the teacher just got word that her contract is ending, and she's holding back the tears because she has to face the uncertainty of finding a new job. But the ego takes everything personally. It never considers the circumstances around the event, and it loves to fill in the imaginary details itself, and it's usually the worst possible details. So, for our own mental and emotional well being, it's imperative that we always question our stories, especially when we interpret an event negatively. How sure am I that this is how the person meant it? What evidence is there to support this negative narrative? If the person said it flat out, could this person just lack the ability to see my potential? Who made them the authority to decide who I am and what my limitations are? Is there a positive way to interpret this? And what is my take on this? Because your opinion about yourself matters the most when it comes to your success anyway. Just look at Einstein and Walt Disney and Michael Jordan, who were all told that they were untalented in their respective fields, and they chose not to believe it. Therefore, always question the ego story about yourself and about others' intentions. The ego feeds on negative attention.